The Chum Radio Network presents the national news, coast to coast in Canada.
I'm Paul Cross at Chum Toronto. Reports today from 1290 Starlight Winnipeg, AM 800 Windsor, oldies 990 Montreal, and CJCH Halifax.
I'm Michael O'Brien at CFRA Ottawa. Our top story, a warning that biotechnology is harming the food supply. Details of this and other stories in just a moment.
The Chum Radio Network National News is brought to you by Planters Peanuts.
Hello?
Hi, Jill. What are you doing?
I'm going nuts.
Aren't we all? Registering the kids for soccer and summer camp, the endless snowstorm.
No, I'm really going nuts. I'm sprinkling Planters flavored nuts and their new roasted sunflower seeds on everything. Cereal, soup, salads, even pastas.
Is that fattening?
No, absolutely not. They're virtually cholesterol-free, and they can be part of a healthy diet. And Planters is introducing 4 great new products. Vanilla peanuts, cinnamon peanuts, hickory smoked almonds, and dry roasted sunflower seeds.
Sounds delicious.
Available soon at a store near you.
Our top story, genetically modified foods, a hot button for a lot of Canadians. There are claims today that Canadians have been unknowingly eating what many call frankenfood for years now. And a group of scientists and academics is warning that the food we eat could be contaminated because of the arrogance of biotechnology engineers. Even if you go to great lengths to make sure the food you eat hasn't been intentionally tampered with, there's no guarantee that the food hasn't been contaminated by something as simple as dispersion of seed by the wind. In other words, your carefully cultivated organic garden could be a waste of time. Why haven't we heard this before? Bert Christie is a former scientist at Agriculture Canada. He tells the Chum Radio Network National News.
And it's not only in Ag Canada, it's also in the universities as well. I think it's because they are getting large sums of money from corporations to do research on various aspects of biotechnology, and they don't want to lose that.
The scientists are pushing for mandatory food labeling and better testing of genetically modified foods, but after almost 10 years of talks, world governments still can't agree on the wording of those labels. A Canadian proposal would eliminate the words genetically modified foods and replace them with the watered-down words, food and food ingredients obtained through modern biotechnology.
An attempt to make their applications for summer jobs look better may cost some law students in Toronto their law careers. 30 students in the law school at the University of Toronto, a fifth of the first-year class, have admitted falsifying their marks. They were applying for summer jobs at law firms that would pay as much as $1,000 a week. 8 of the students have been suspended for 1 year, and they will have a note in their files until 3 months after graduation. Lawyer Clayton Ruby, who represents 17 of the students, calls the punishment harsh and cruel and argues it means some will not have a future in the legal profession. Across the country, documents we file with various levels of government include the assurance that our information will be kept confidential. So a story from Quebec is disturbing. Richard Dagenet of Oldies 990 Montreal tells us dozens of government workers are accused of violating privacy.
Last year, the Revenue Department caught twice as many public servants going through private files as in 1999, from 31 to 58 last year. 7 employees were fired in 1999, along with 7 more in 2000. Others were given suspensions, reprimands, and warnings. 5 months ago, a Revenue Quebec employee was caught giving the personal addresses of police officers to a biker gang. Quebec's Revenue Minister, Guy Julien, calls them isolated cases, but the Quebec Liberal Party says the situation is not very reassuring, and it's calling for background checks on all new civil servants.
It's a beautiful spring day here in the capital, but Alliance leader Stockwell Day is spending most of it meeting with his caucus behind closed doors, trying to convince them he has what it takes to win the next election. This meeting is going to take 5 long hours. On his way into the meeting, former leader Preston Manning said the party isn't in danger of collapse, but there's work to be done to get it back to where it should be, and that's Stockwell Day's job. World governments are responding nervously to George W. Bush's decision to build a missile defense shield. Canada is among those welcoming Bush's promise to consult with NATO allies and Russia in creating the Star Wars defense system. Much of the apprehension focuses on Bush's declaration that the 1972 anti-ballistic missile treaty is outdated. It sets strict limits on testing and deployment of anti-missile systems. Bush says the Star Wars defense is needed to defend against so-called rogue states.
An unlikely location is expected to play host later this year to a getaway gathering of parliamentarians from Israel and Palestine. Doug Reynolds has the story from CJCH Halifax.
There's no doubt about it. Halifax hosting meetings between Palestinians and Israeli parliamentarians is unusual. The meetings planned for the fall will be to see if Canadian parliamentarians can help in establishing a lasting peace in the Middle East. Tory Foreign Affairs critic Bill Casey says there are no grandiose notions here. These meetings, he says, will not bring peace to the troubled region. The plan is to have the two sides discuss sensitive issues such as boundaries, refugees, and settlements in a neutral setting. Casey is off to the Middle East next week to present official invitations.
All the news about the car industry is not on the downside. As we hear from Rob Sherville at AM 800 Windsor, import sales are keeping figures positive.
Auto sales in Canada increased by almost 2% last month, but it's thanks to foreign automakers. Hyundai reports a whopping 58% increase over April of last year. Mazda saw a gain of 33%, BMW up 23%. Canada's big three, Ford, General Motors, and Daimler Chrysler, continue a sales skid. Ford saw car and truck sales slide 11%. It's the cars that are doing the damage. Truck sales actually increased about 2%, but car sales are off 30%. General Motors reports a sales decline for April of 1.5%. Stateside, it's much the same story, with sales for the big three down between 16 and 18%.
At least 2 people are dead following a fiery head-on crash between 2 transport trucks on the Trans-Canada Highway in northwestern Ontario, just east of Dryden. Firefighters were hampered at first because one of the trucks was transporting radioactive material. Only a small quantity of iridium is involved, though, and it was being shipped in crash-proof containers. A bus industry spokesperson says schools are risking safety to save money when they take overnight bus trips. Victor Para of the United Motor Coach Association says he tells officials booking school trips to schedule overnight rest stops to avoid driver fatigue. A tour bus crash in Sussex, New Brunswick, killed 4 Massachusetts school children on Friday morning. Jeffrey Young, superintendent of the Newton Public School System, says overnight bus rides are common on long school-sponsored trips.
The movie and television production industry in Canada and the U.S. is nervously watching Los Angeles today. Contract talks between Hollywood writers and the industry broke off early this morning, 6 hours after the old contract expired. They will resume late this afternoon. The union has not actually called for a strike vote, but there have been fears for months that a writer's strike could paralyze movie and TV production. In Winnipeg, the fight continues over a disputed lottery ticket. Duncan Stokes of 1290 Starlight tells us winners don't want to be forced to share.
A judge has stepped in to try to help settle a lawsuit filed by a Manitoba home care worker in a dispute over a lottery jackpot. The woman says the family of her elderly client excluded her from an $11.4 million lottery win. Lawyers for the Winnipeg family who claimed the Lotto 649 prize last year remain at odds with lawyers for the home care worker who believes that half the money is hers. Corazan Makatula filed a lawsuit against the family last November, claiming they'd lied to Lotto officials and the public about the nature of their March 2000 win. She claims she actually bought the winning ticket as part of an ongoing deal she had with her elderly client, Jean Tessier. But when Tessier won the big prize, Makatula says she was shut out.
For the next 11 days, 34,000 census takers will fan out across the land, handing out forms door to door. 80% of us will get the short questionnaire, which asks age, sex, first language, and marital status. The rest will get the longer form with 52 questions covering such things as religion, education, and ethnic background. And Paul, for the first time, same-sex couples will be counted in the census as such.
And that's the news across Canada. I'm Paul Cross at CHUM Toronto.
And I'm Michael O'Brien at CFRA Ottawa.
Coast to coast in Canada, the Chum Radio Network National News has been brought to you by Planters Peanut.
50 Chum Toronto update. Traffic turmoil. Highway 27. The southbound lanes closed at Queens Plate due to a tractor-trailer rollover, and construction is causing delays again today both ways at the top end of the parkway. Just into May, but air quality already a concern. Chum's Kim Geddes reports.
It's not unusual to have bad air days this early in the season. It happened last year, in fact. But what is really concerning to Toronto health officials is the fact that over the past 20 years, the pollution level has flatlined. Nothing's improved. All the messages about reducing greenhouse gas emissions and taking public transit have apparently fallen on deaf ears. For those escaping the cottage country to breathe in clean air, yesterday, Grand Bend, Parry Sound, and Halliburton all registered well above 50, the magic number for issuing smog alerts.
Told you last week about 3 girls from Barrie, heroes for using a sheet to break the fall of a toddler from a 4th-floor window, and how Jay Leno might want to have a chat with them on The Tonight Show. He will. Randy Lynn Quinn, her sister Samantha, and their friend Stephanie Body will be on the show Friday. Remember, at the University of Toronto, law students who jacked up their marks on summer job applications, 8 of them have been suspended for a year. The Globe and Mail says the rest will be dealt with by the 10th of this month. They, too, are likely to be suspended and have a note put on their record until 3 months after graduation. Their lawyer says the punishment is cruel and harsh and may scuttle their chances of a future in the legal profession. Chum Sports, the Raptors hungry for a win tonight at the Air Canada Centre. They're down 2-1 to the Knicks. A loss tonight and they're done. Jaromir Jagr is expected back at the Penguins lineup tonight. They have a 2-1 lead on the Sabres in the NHL playoffs. The Avalanche can make it 3-1 with a win tonight over the Kings. Not for sure that Joe Sakic will play tonight for the Avalanche. Canada meets the Russians this afternoon at the World Hockey Championship. The Jays send Esteban Loaiza to the hill tonight against the A's, pushed Oakland to extra innings last night, and an eventual win. Pre-game show on Chum gets you started at 9:30. Chum News Time is 12:12. 10:50 Chum weather, mostly sunshine this afternoon, high near 27, clouds and 15 tonight, sunny and 27 again tomorrow. I'm Dan Blakely. It's 24 degrees at 10:50 Chum.
Lunchtime in the city, 10:50 Chum Toronto, cooking up some fabulous songs this hour. More Chum memories straight ahead. Crystal's a song that was written by Gene Pitney. The ironic thing was that it passed Gene's song and went to number 1. He's a rebel. Hall of Famers Buffalo Springfield, and it's the 4 Tops from Motown. I can't help myself.